office. This is Chris with Engineer on the Range, and today I'm going to review this, the Vortex Venom Reflex sight. It's been on the market for the past few years, at least since 2015. It comes in two different flavors, a 3 MOA red dot and a 6 MOA red dot. For the past 2 years, I've been running the 3 MOA version on two of my pistols. One's riding that slide on a 1911 45 ACP, while the other's on the horn of a Chiappa Rhino 60 DS and 357 Magnum. I have a few hundred rounds each in both of those pistols, so I have a bit of history with this particular sight. In this video, I'm going to review the key features, technical specs, how to operate this sight. We'll do an unboxing, and finally I'll wrap things up with my thoughts on this, the Vortex Venom Reflex sight. Stay tuned. Let's start things off with the key features of the Vortex Venom. The battery is located on the top, so if you ever need to replace the battery, all you have to do is remove this cap to gain access to the battery compartment. To me, this was a huge advantage. Concerning other sights, you have to physically remove the sight from its mount just to access the battery, potentially losing the zero. Vortex says that this particular sight is waterproof, but does not specify the depth. I imagine if you were to drop this into 1 foot of water, or it gets rained on because you're in the field or at the range, you don't have to worry about the electronics of this sight getting damaged by the water. The lens has no magnification, has unlimited eye relief, and is parallax free. Vortex coats the lens with an ArmorTech coating, which is a scratch resistant coating, but it does give it a bluish hue. And if you do look through the lens at an angle, it does distort the image, but for me, I shoot with both eyes open. Sometimes I even shoot with one eye open. And I look straight through the lens. I haven't had any issues. To me, the lens itself is very clear. The dot is a bright red dot. They do make a 3 MOA and a 6 MOA, but this particular sight that we're reviewing today is a 3 MOA dot. There's 10 brightness settings. In manual mode, there's also an auto brightness mode. The battery life is rated between 150 to 30,000 hours depending upon the brightness setting. 30,000 hours is 3.4 years. I own two of these sights. Both of them are still on the same original battery, and they're both 2 years old. Another cool feature is that this particular sight uses the same mount as the Beerus Fastfire or a Doctor sight. Unfortunately, Vortex doesn't offer many mounts other than the one that's supplied with it. So if you want to mount this sight to your firearm, all you have to do is go find a Beerus Fastfire mount, and you'll be able to mount this sight to your firearm. This thing's pretty shock resistant. One of my sights is mounted to a 1911 and 45 ACP, and this thing takes the abuse and punishment of riding that slide. I haven't had any issues with the dot or losing zero. No issues whatsoever. The elevation is located on top. It has a bandwidth of 130 MOA maximum adjustment. The windage is located on the side. It has a bandwidth of 100 MOA maximum adjustment. Both the elevation and windage are in 1 MOA adjustment graduation. The weight of this particular sight is 1.05 ounces, or roughly 29.8 grams. The overall length of the sight is 1.9 inches. The overall width, which is located here on the lens shroud, is 1.11 inches. The overall height from the bottom of the sight to the top of this shroud is going to be 1.02 inches. The base has a length of 1.9 inches, has a width of exactly 1 inch. The thickness or the height of this base is 0.41 inches. Vortex doesn't give any information about the dimensions of the lens, so I had to whip out my calipers to take measurements. I found that the width of the lens is 1.05 inches. The height of the lens is 0.65 inches, and the distance between the bottom of the base to the bottom of the lens is approximately 0.34 inches. Let's take a moment and talk about how to operate the sight. To turn on the sight, simply press either the up or down button. To turn off the sight, press and hold down the down button for 5 seconds. With the sight on, to toggle between the auto brightness or manual brightness mode, press and hold down the up button for 5 seconds and the red dot will blink to indicate that the brightness mode has changed. And manual brightness mode, to increase the brightness, press the up button several times until the desired brightness is reached. To decrease the brightness, press the down button several times until the desired brightness is reached. If the sight is left on in auto brightness or manual brightness mode, the sight will automatically turn off in 14 hours. Let's take a moment and talk about what you get inside the box. Inside this bag, you get the owner's manual, you get a cleaning cloth, you get a Glock MOS kit. I'm going to set this aside. Of course, you get the sight itself. You get this protective cover, and I absolutely love this protective cover. It does a good job at securing itself to the sight by these two features, and again, I absolutely love this protective cover. You get one Weaver Picatinny rail mount, and to be honest, I hate this mount. I have personally stripped out 2 of these mounts, and let's face it, more than likely you'll be getting an aftermarket mount anyway. You get one T15 Torx wrench, of course double-sided. You get 3 mounting screws for securing the sight to the mount. You get 1 extra, I'm assuming because just in case you were to lose it. And of course these are T15 Torx screws. You get 1 double-sided screwdriver. The fat end is for removing and securing the battery cap on the sight. The skinny end is for adjusting the windage and elevation on the sight. And of course you get 1 CR1632 battery. I've already taken the liberty of putting the battery inside the sight itself because, to be honest, securing this cap and fully seating it is a bit of a booger. But that's okay. I'll tell you how to do the trick a little bit later. Now if you are having issues getting the cap to fully seat on the sight, it's because of this O-ring that you see right here. Now the trick to getting this cap to fully seat is as follows. Remove the O-ring from the cap and set it aside. Get a Q-tip and apply 1 drop of gun lube to the tip. Now evenly coat the gun lube on the inside of this cap as shown and set it down. Take this O-ring and microwave it for 8 to 10 seconds. Once that's done, and this O-ring is still hot, place it back into the cap on top of its mounting feature and make sure that it's fully seated. Place the battery into the sight. Carefully rotate this cap and place the cap carefully on top of the battery. With the supplied tool, apply some gentle force onto the center of the cap, and the hand that's not doing anything, get an index finger and place it directly on the lower right side of that cap as shown. Now with even pressure from both your finger and the tool, begin to rotate clockwise. Now while you're doing this, you feel any kind of binding or like gritty feel, back the cap out and then re-rotate it again clockwise. Now I'm not feeling any kind of binding or grit, so I'm going to fully seat this cap. Now don't over tighten. This is aluminum. It will strip out. At this point, the cap is fully seated, as you can see. And that is the trick to getting this cap to be fully seated on these sights if you're having issues. For my thoughts on the Vortex Venom to have meaning, I'm going to have to compare it to other Reflex sights considered to be industry standards, like the Trijicon RMR or the Leupold Delta Point Pro. The Trijicon RMR, it's a tank. The user interface is easy to use, the battery life is extremely long, however, the window is small, and the battery is located on the bottom of the sight, so if you ever need to service the battery, you're going to have to take the sight off its mount, losing your zero. Worst of all, it costs $450. The Leupold Delta Point Pro, it's an armored car. The window is generous, the battery is located on the top, so if you ever need to service the battery, you don't have to risk losing your zero. However, the user interface is cumbersome, and the user interface is in a bad location, right next to the emitter, which is kind of a weak place for these Reflex sights. It costs $400. The Vortex Venom, it's a work truck. The window is generous, the battery is located on the top, so you don't have to risk losing your zero just to service the battery. The user interface is easy to use, and best of all, it costs $200. I'm not going to put a sight on a gun and drop it off a building or run it over with a car. Hell, I wouldn't even do that with an RMR. The Vortex Venom, it's a pretty rugged sight. It'll do anything that you want it to do. It'll do anything that you need it to do. Despite all the positive things I've had to say about the Vortex Venom, there are some negative things that have to be said too. The battery cap can be a bit of a booger to put on, but if you do my trick, you should be able to fully seat this cap with no issue. The sight mount is easy to strip out. In fact, I've stripped out 2 of these things. It is covered by warranty, so I contacted Vortex. All they asked me was what's my address, and they sent me out a new mount. However, I ended up using a Burris Fast Fire mount and haven't had any issues ever since. The elevation and windage are barely click adjustments. That means that when you're doing the adjustment, you're not going to hear a click and you're barely going to feel the click. I know on some of these, they're like a ghost click. If I could change anything about this sight, what would it be? I would love to have a 1 MOA dot version. Better click adjustments. So when you're doing the adjustment, you hear the click, and then when you also do the adjustment, you also have a more positive feel from the click when you're doing the adjustment. I'd also love to have half MOA adjustments versus 1 MOA adjustments. And of course, last but not least, a base that doesn't strip out easy. I'll wrap this up with 2 questions. Would I recommend this sight? Considering that the other 2 sights don't include a mount, the Vortex Venom really only has 2 negatives compared to those other sights. Lack of cool name recognition, no military contracts. The Vortex Venom isn't just a great design loaded with good features for the money. The Vortex Venom is a great design loaded with good features, period. And the warranty is awesome. So yes, I would recommend it. Would I buy the sight with my own money? Without question. In fact, this is my 3rd one. The other 2, one's on a 1911 and the other one's on a Rhino. This one's destined for a rifle, but more about that in a future video. Once again, this is Chris with Engineer on the Range. Thanks for watching.